Welcome to the Mortgage IQ Show, where we raise your IQ in everything mortgage marketing and sales. I'm Stephen James, and today we're talking all about CCPA, or the California Consumer Protection Act. This new piece of regulation, it's going into effect January 1st, and it's going to have a huge impact on the way we manage and track consumer data. To talk about this today and getting ready, what we need to do, I have Chris King here with me. And Chris is the president of Mortgage IQ CRM. He's been designing sales and marketing systems in the mortgage industry for over 30 years, Chris?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And Chris, you and I are going to be you're going to be talking about what this new piece of legislation is, how it's going to affect us and business in the industry, and the steps that are required in order to get compliant and avoid any fees or penalties.
Yep, that's right.
All right. Well, welcome, Chris.
Hi, Stephen. Great to be here.
All right. So if I'm looking around the industry, I haven't really heard too much on this. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of buzz. What's going on with this legislation? And tell me more about it.
Sure. So this legislation was actually finalized and passed back in 2018, and it was actually patterned after the GDPR. The GDPR is otherwise known as the General Data Protection Regulation, and this was enacted in Europe actually a few years back. So the intent was to protect consumer data being collected and tracked by businesses, and requiring those companies to post a notice to consumers on websites, landing pages, and lead submission forms. So when the GDPR was enacted, it really only impacted American companies who are doing business in Europe. So for those companies who took steps to be in compliance, I'm thinking they may have a bit of a head start on others, in that the CCPA actually models the GDPR in a lot of its intent and detail.
All right, so it makes a lot of sense. I remember GDPR coming out and that changing a lot of the ways we do marketing, especially abroad. But still, that being said, since we're in the world of consumer data and personal data, why are folks in mortgage still not aware of this yet?
Yeah, I think part of the reason is that these regulations are somewhat limited in terms of determining the requirements for compliance. So like with the GDPR, unless you're actually originating loans for borrowers residing in Europe, it's not required. And with the CCPA, it's limited mostly to those lenders doing loans in California. Okay, so let's look at the core components of compliance. So the requirements include a consumer's right to request any and all personal information being tracked, stored, and or provided to other parties, in addition to the request that all of their personal information should be removed.
Okay, got it. So what are you hearing about the expansion of this regulation going beyond California?
Well, it's interesting you ask. It's already here. Well, as we speak, other states have either passed similar legislation or actually are in the process. So states like Nevada and Maine, just to name a few.
Wow, okay. So I guess we can say it's only a matter of time before this impacts all lenders. Is that correct?
I'd say so, absolutely.
Okay, so that being said, how can a lender ensure that they're being compliant in this area?
I think that's a great question. I think we all know that it can often be very challenging to execute any new guideline or requirements within the lending industry. So if you have to rely on human involvement, I think your chances of 100% compliance are pretty slim. So our approach would be to automate as much as you possibly can. And I think in the case of utilizing the CRM, for example, it's actually possible to implement a step-by-step process that we think will help to manage and track consumer requests for access to or removal of their information. And we've actually put into place a workflow for our clients that's easy for employees to use, and we think it makes the compliance bulletproof. And that's really, I think, the key to overall success. It even has a way to deal with suppressing or removing consumer data without the concern of it repopulating from an import of data maybe, or even from updates via your LOS.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like that would be a big relief for some of your clients.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it also helps to avoid those sleepless nights, as we say.
Yeah. So how would you recommend getting started on all of this?
Yeah, good question. I think to be compliant, time is running out because it starts on January 1st, but there's still a couple weeks to get on it. There's a lot of information on the web on the topic in terms of all the specifics. And then our team is also available to contact for more information.
Okay, cool. Chris, I think you pretty much summed it up, gave us a good brief on CCPA. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, that wraps it up for this episode of Mortgage IQ Show. As Chris mentioned, his team is available for any questions on this or anything mortgage marketing or sales process related. And you can also reach out to us through our channels. All right, see you next show.